Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Delfino, and today I'm going over everything you need to know about sniping in Battlefield 6. Now, if you're wondering why should I listen to this random person on the internet, well, currently I have the world record of most sniper kills in a single match, that being 126, so I think I know a thing or two about sniping. I'm going from basic tips and tricks to more advanced techniques. So if you like what you see or you're new to the channel in any way, shape, or form, do me a favor of hitting that like button and subscribing so you can see more content on the regular. Also, don't forget to hype the video up. We're going for 50,000 subscribers before the end of the year. If we can reach that would be insane. And don't forget to check out my Twitch channel where I answer questions all the time. But that's enough about that. Let's dive straight into the video. So kicking things off, I want to talk about target priority first. And this is one of the, in my opinion, basic or one of the most important fundamentals of playing a sniper. And here's how I prioritize targets. My first priority is I'm always looking for an enemy sniper. I'm looking for that sniper glint, or I'm looking for some sniper, so to counter snipe them. Because I know that if I'm hunting them, they're most likely hunting me before any of the other infantry players or tanks or any other vehicle is hunting me as well. So getting rid of those players are only half the problem. The second priority is looking for players in advantageous spots. Are they on top of a roof, on some type of high ground that overlooks and has the potential to threaten you, maybe get you killed or something like that. Your third priority is any other infantry you see that you just want to take out. Those are my three, priority targets in quotations for a game like Battlefield 6. So first, counter sniping. Second, going for people on advantageous spots like high ground, etc. Third tip or third priority is going for anybody else that's around. But of course, besides counter sniping, the other one on par of the first priority is anybody shooting at you. Of course, shoot them back as fast as possible. But that's how I go for targets in a game like this. Now, another big factor that I like to talk about is centering. And centering is essentially the art of pre-aligning your target in the middle of your crosshair, right where the center dot is, before you even scope in. By doing this, you minimize the adjustments needed when you finally zoom in, letting you take the shot much faster. Now, if you skip this step and zoom in without centering, it's not the end of the world, but you'll find yourself dragging the crosshair across the screen, trying to catch up with your target. That leaves you vulnerable. And of course, the longer you're scoped in, the easier it is for enemies to spot you. You have to remember, while you're scoped in, you give yourself a pretty noticeable sniper glint from your scope, which can be seen from across the map, acting as a big visual cue for enemies that you're targeting them. So my biggest tip, do all your aiming work before you scope in, and keep your sniper at hip to take in more of the action around you. You'll spot enemies from further away and be more aware of what's going on rather than being locked into your scope. Even if you are running the anti-glare for one of your sniper rifles, which is the attachment that reduces your sniper glint, I still recommend not ADSing all the time, because even with that anti-glare effect, you still give up some glint, so you are noticeable. So just trying to stay out of scope as much as possible is always the better option. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the class. Now, as far as Battlefield 6, most of it is open class, meaning you can use weapons or whatever weapon you want on any single class. But when it comes to sniping, I always prefer playing it on the recon class. Now, I always say that because it might be sacrilegious, but also the recon class is definitely the way to go for sniping. For one, you'll be more of a team player in quotations. The spotting scope trait automatically marks enemies when you line them up in your sights, not just for your team, but also on the minimap. So even if you were to miss your shot, your teammates might be able to clean it up, and if you hit them, they'll be revealed for everyone to use and see. Plus, if you manage to score a headshot, the enemy can't be revived, which is a pretty decent advantage. Another big thing is that the recon class also offers sniper rifle proficiency, meaning less weapon sway, faster rechambering between shots, and better breath control for a steadier aim. So if you need a bit more time to line up the perfect shot, recon is your best option. Don't forget to use your gadgets, motion sensors, drones, UAVs, all are available, letting you provide constant intel for your team while you're tucked away in your sniper position if you so desire. Now, I would say playing sniper or recon class, close quarters is typically not the best option, but I'm a pretty aggressive sniper, so I like that risk and I like the reward, but typically you want to play from medium to far distances. Of course, if you like being more aggressive, I can make another aggressive sniper guide if you want to see that in the future, so let me know in the comments down below. Remember, this video is a sniper guide, not a recon class guide. With that being said, I want to talk about some of the snipers. In Battlefield 6, you have a couple different options for what sniper you want to use. You have the M2010 ESR, the SV98, the PSR, and the Mini Scout, which you unlock from the Battle Pass. Now, at its root, or core, the M2010 ESR Sniper is a really well-balanced sniper, probably one of the better ones in the game. I wouldn't say the best, but probably top 3. It excels in pretty much every range, and you can build it pretty efficiently. Now, there's a couple attachments I will always recommend for the snipers, and that is once you unlock the extended barrel, to always slap that on, mainly due to the fact that it gives you an increase in muzzle velocity, meaning your shots will get to target a lot faster. And when you start getting insanely high muzzle velocities, you don't actually need to use the rangefinder. Typically, you'll only be using the rangefinder if you're playing Red Sec, which is the Battle Royale mode, or if you're playing Conquest and it's going for insanely long range distance snipes. Once your muzzle velocity gets around 1,000 meters a second, again, you don't really need to worry about the rangefinder because your targets or your bullets will travel to the target instantly, so you don't necessarily have to worry about a ton of drop or getting the perfect distance. Although having the rangefinder is nice, if you're trading that for an extended barrel, I always go for the option of always picking the extended barrel over the rangefinder. My next attachment I always recommend for the M2010 and just every sniper in general is the suppressor. All the suppressor does is reduces the hipfire accuracy. For the most part, you should never be going for a hipfires with the sniper, so that shouldn't really be a factor of you using it or not. But what it does do is it fully hides in-world spotting and reduces the range where a soldier is spotted on a minimap while firing. Suppressors have saved me countless of times with doing some pretty stupid plays and getting away with it, but also just using a suppressor on every single gun in this game, whether it's a sniper, an LG, an AR, an SMG, is definitely always the attachment that you need. One last attachment I can't live without for any sniper in the game is the ADS bolt. This allows you to range chamber or recock your gun while ADS so you don't have to unzoom. Now, I did say that not staying zoomed in all the time is super beneficial, but sometimes it is helpful to stay zoomed in when there's multiple targets in front of you. Having your scope up, ready to go, and shooting multiple targets is always a nice thing. Now, if you're using a sniper and you don't have a suppressor unlocked, my other recommendation for you is using a flash hider, because that's just essentially a budget suppressor. Now, it's not a suppressor, it doesn't suppress the shot or anything, but it does reduce the spotting, so that is a big factor, at least in my opinion. Now, one last thing, I kind of skipped off of the path of the best build in quotations of the M2010. Those are the few attachments I would recommend. Then, of course, you could have an angled grip if you want to. In terms of what sniper scope you want to use, it's all a matter of preference. Typically, if you're looking for a sniper scope, I always recommend 6x or 8x. Which one do you use, though? Well, for the 6x, I always recommend the SSDS. It's the cleanest looking scope for the 6x category. If you're looking for an 8x, which I typically use, I will always recommend the LERT8X. It's the best, most clean scope in that category, and I highly encourage you using it. The only other really scope I would ever recommend is the ACOG, the 4X. Pretty simple, pretty clean. I wouldn't recommend anything lower or necessarily higher than 8x. If you're playing Red Sec or you're, again, going for an insanely long range distance snipe, then you can maybe opt for a 10x and so on. But typically, 4, 6, and 8 are the recommendations I give to people that come and ask me in chat. Now, one last thing I forgot to mention is that the M2010 ESR excels in the ranges about 74 meters to 120 meters. That's kind of where you want to be working at. Besides that, well-rounded sniper, pretty good, solid weapon. Moving on, we come to the SV98. This weapon, in my opinion, excels in the medium range, about 53 meters to 73, and it does pretty good for getting rapid, repeated shots. Now, the question is how do we build this? The prices of the attachments are rather expensive for this weapon. For instance, the only suppressor that the SV98 actually has is 30 points. And the ADS bolts on pretty much every single sniper is 30 points as well. So you're looking at 60 points combined out of 100. That means you only have 40 points to work with. When you take into account that the rangefinder is 15, the scope is 10, the bullets are 5, and the magazine is 5 as well, that pretty much adds up to 100 with the extended barrel. Because all the prices are so expensive, I typically just go for the basic barrel on the SV98, mainly due to the fact that I want to be able to use other attachments. Again, I'm a big advocate of the ADS bolt, so I think once you unlock that should be your first priority when building any of the snipers. From there, it's just really a matter of preference of what you want to add to it. I always recommend the basic ammo. I don't think any of the other ammos really do anything. Now, long range can be okay because it increases or decreases the projectile drag, so your shots will get to target much faster. But again, I think the basics are perfectly fine, so there's no reason to mess with it at all. I do think, though, that the SV98 doesn't have the best muzzle velocity. Even if you put the extended barrel on, you only get around 900 meters a second. If you have the basic, you get 720. That's when I say you should add a rangefinder to it, because it doesn't have the highest muzzle velocity. Your shots are not going to be getting target extremely fast. Having that rangefinder can help you get the shots on target. That being said, though, if you want to run a rangefinder, you can't run a suppressor because you're over by 10 capacity. From there, I'd say, okay, we could look at a brake if you wanted to. You could go for the compensated brake, which is perfectly fine. You could go for the triple port brake, or you could even go for the normal brake and then add some extra attachments, whether some type of underbarrel. The only underbarrel I typically recommend is the angled one because it gives you a faster draw speed and ADS speed. You could opt for the more expensive one, which is the slim angled, but I think just having the normal full angled is perfectly fine. Then we come to the PSR. Now, the PSR used to be my favorite sniper in the entire game. I grinded it out, unlocking it on Operation Firestorm Escalation, sitting at the top of the tower, going for the 200-meter headshots. This is back when you had to do, 150 headshots of 200 meter, it wasn't the hardest thing in the world to do, but it was mainly due to the fact that it was just super tedious in how specific the challenge exactly was. But that's besides the point. The sniper was my favorite until the mini scout came out. But again, it's the same scenario, kind of as the SV98, to where you have a lower muzzle velocity, so you're going to have a rangefinder if you want to get those distant shots. Of course, you could always opt for not having the rangefinder and going for the extended barrel. But again, the muzzle velocity only kicks up to around 900 and you lose that rangefinder. So at that point, I think it's always worth running the basic and going for the rangefinder for those lower muzzle velocity weapons. Again, staying true to my word, I always use the ADS bolt, even if it makes the gun slightly worse or it makes it slightly better. Besides the point, that's why I run it, to get those quick consecutive shots if I so desire. Now, I don't use the anti-glare for the sniper at all, as well as the SV98 and the M2010. The only anti-glare that I use is for the mini scout because it has all the points in the world, so you can just run it. But what I typically would do is just suppressor, the normal suppressor, the 20 cost one, basic barrel, rangefinder, angled grip, just like the SV98, the basic magazine, the standard rounds, the ADS bolt, and then the 8x scope, the LERT, of course, and that's how I build it. Typically, this weapon is suited for super long ranges. I would say, 120 meters, 150, etc. This is the sniper you want to be using in Red Sec or the mini scout as well in Red Sec. Again, this is a sniper you're going for super long ranges, not necessarily, close ranges or medium ranges, but decently long ranges. Of course, you can use it in any sort of condition, but that's just typically how I use it. Now, like I've previously been saying, the anti-glare optic accessory is extremely nice. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a very good accessory. However, you don't necessarily need it. If you're centering correctly and you're always on ADS and only ADSing when you absolutely need to for the one shot, then having that anti-glare is not necessary because just zooming in for that one shot, then unzooming instantly. That's how you should be playing sniper. But if you're staying ADS, then you can maybe opt for getting the anti-glare and chaining something out. Then last, but certainly not least, we come to the mini scout. Now, I love this gun with a passion. I love this sniper so much that when I got the first blueprint where you lock in the battle pass, I got the sniper to level 40 before I even unlocked the main gun to where I could change my attachments. So once I unlocked the gun fully, I already had all the attachments, so it didn't really matter. But It's a little bit sad because you don't get to suffer through the beginning stages of the sniper, but because I had it unlocked or leveled up so much, I can instantly attach the attachments I wanted. Now, for whatever reason, they made the cost of the attachments on this weapon extremely cheap for what you get. And if you don't understand what I'm meaning, is that I have a suppressor on my build. I have an extended mag. I have a grip. I have the anti-glare sniper. It has a built-in ADS bolt, so you don't have to spend that extra 30 points. I have a laser as well, and it's probably the best build you can think of. Now, you can get a rangefinder on this gun. However, what I've noticed with this gun, because the muzzle velocity is so high when you put that extended barrel on, it has a base muzzle velocity of 1,000. Once you get that extended barrel, it goes to 1,100. So I don't think you need a rangefinder because you literally shoot instantly and the target drops. Another thing is when you put on the rangefinder, you can notice sometimes when you're aiming at an enemy and you shoot, sometimes it will miss and it goes to 1,000 meters because it's like aiming in the distance when you have it double bound. That's why it's typically I don't use it on the mini scout because it doesn't need it, because you have those. I guess the only super distance map is Operation Firestorm. And even then, you're not going for super long shots because of how the mini scout is played. It only does 80 damage, so you shouldn't be taking it at super long ranges. Although you can, my recommendation is staying within 200-ish meters. Within 200 meters, your shot will still hit the enemy like a laser bolt. This is the sniper that got me the new world record of 126 and is definitely the sniper I recommend if one of those aggressive sniper types you like to move around a lot. Using this is a must priority. So this is the build I used to get the world record. I used the base suppressor, the 20 cost suppressor. I used the extended barrel. I used the angled grip that I always use, the standard magazine, standard bullets. I used the anti-glare scope because you have those extra points, might as well just put it on. Then the LERT 8X, of course. Now, something a little bit different is I put a laser on, the blue laser that costs 30 more specifically. Typically, I don't like putting lasers on snipers because what I've noticed is, ever notice when a enemy sniper is aiming at you and there's the green, laser to green dot aiming at you, and it's really bright, easy to track down the enemy sniper? That's why I don't use it, because I had that fear that maybe something like that will happen. But I've noticed that having the laser on this gun is fine because your targets are getting to your bullets are getting to the enemy so fast that even having the laser doesn't really affect that. So slapping it on if you want to is fine. Not using it is also fine. So either or. Like I said, rangefinder is optional. I don't like it on the mini scout because I don't think it really does. I mean, yes, it does help you with super long shots, but I don't think it's significant enough to actually use it. So again, whether you want to use rangefinder or not, completely up to you. Now, moving on, I do just want to talk about a couple settings for if you're using a mouse and keyboard. The only settings you really have to worry about for, sniping is going into mouse and keyboard, going to infantry passenger keybinds, scrolling down all the way till you see rangefinder zeroing if zoomed. In the secondary column, make sure it's set to whatever your primary fire button is. For mouse and keyboard, it's left mouse click, but of course for controller it might be right trigger and so on. You can also bind it on controller. I'm pretty sure. You can let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure you can put it on controller. That's all you have to do. So the second you shoot, when you have a rangefinder, it will instantly change the zeroing to where that enemy is. I think it's a dumb feature. I don't think it should be in the game, but because it's in the game, might as well abuse it. The only other thing that I recommend changing in Sniper is actually heading over to control settings, going to uniform infantry aiming, turning it off, making sure your coefficient is 0, and one more thing that you want to be looking at is zoom, transition, sensitivity, smoothing. Make sure this is off. After you turn it off, when you have uniform infantry aiming on, turn uniform infantry aiming back on, so you have uniform aiming again. Those are really the only things I would be changing in terms of settings. The rest is all user preference, what your sensitivity is, etc. Mine is 8 because I use 1600 DPI, and that's 35 centimeters. That's what I use. Besides that, just not a whole lot other things to adjust. You could go to color profiles, change your color profiles. I use yellow enemy color if you care about that, but that's just, again, preference. Typically, enemy color, I go red, purple, or yellow. You want to choose between those three. Whatever pops best to you is definitely the option for you, of course. But anyways, hopefully this video has helped you in any way, shape, or form. And if you want a more in-depth tutorial-esque video, let me know in the comments down below. Of course, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video as well. But regardless, I hope you have a great and safe day, and I'll catch you in the next one.